This video will be about how I'm debugging HT, and when I say debugging, I don't mean troubleshooting, I mean how I'm exploring the source code with the debugger. This is a crucial step or a crucial process that I always employ whenever I want to understand the tool at a deeper level. HT is written in Go, so for that we need a debugger for Go. I'm going to use Delve in this case, and the process will be as follows. We'll first create a debugger server, and then we are going to use the debugger client to attach to that server. The debugger server will be started by Delve, which is why we're using it, and then we're going to use a debugger client, and this could be baked into your editor. For instance, if you're using VS Code, then it should be pretty easy to set up. In my case, I'm using Neovim, which requires some additional configuration, and this is what I want to show you basically in this video: my configuration for the debugger client, as well as how I'm starting the debugger server. So I'm going to start first with the debugger server because it's just a simple command. One thing that I should mention now is that if you want to debug a more complex project or a project that requires a different setup, then you might need to spend some time on finding the proper debug command. So in this case, the way I'm instantiating the debugger server is, let me zoom in a little, is by using this command. It's this one here. So as you can see, I'm using the Delve debugger with the debug command, and then I'm giving it the program. This is the entry point. Let me just show you what I mean about this. So we look for the server main.go file. Main.go server main.go. So this is the entry point for etcd, for the etcd server, because etcd has other components as well. And then I'm going to specify some Delve specific flags. First of all, this will be a headless server. I'm going to specify the port, the API version, and accept multi-client. I must have inherited this argument from a previous project. In this case, we don't need multiple debugger clients, but it isn't harmful at the same time, so I'm just going to keep this. And then after the double dashes, we are going to provide arguments that are meant for the program. So these two arguments are meant for this etcd main entry point. So after running this command, we are going to start a debugger server, and the program will start to execute once we attach to the server. And for that, what I'm essentially doing, so let's say that I want to start the journey, the learning journey at this point. What I want to do next is to start the debugger client in Neovim, and I have some shortcuts. I'm using the classic DAP plugin in Neovim. That's why I've ended up to this menu, and from this list I'm going to select option 2, and you'll see in a minute why. But by selecting number 2, then the magic starts, and now I can step into, step out, and so on. And as I said in the previous video, from this point, all we need is time and patience and maybe other traits. Now I'm going to show you the most important part, which is the configuration. So now I'm in my .files repo, and this is how I have configured the debugging configuration. So for Go, I have several configurations, but the one I want you to look at is this one, which should most likely be renamed, but that's how it has remained after trying to debug Docker. Basically, the gist of it is that we are configuring this such that we're going to attach to a server which we have started right here, and then we are going to specify some options. We're going to specify the host, which is basically the local host, the loopback address, and then we're going to specify the port, the mode, which is remote. I don't think it matters at this point so much, but it will be used later on. So the main three options that we're going to use now are these two. We'll probably need remote as well, but I'm not very sure now. But the gist is in what I've selected here. And then I have this configuration here, which I don't know exactly what. Okay, here we're configuring the adapters. And for the Go language, we also have for Lua and C++ and Rust and JavaScript as well. But now I'm going to focus on the Golang configuration, which is this one. And as you can see, the first if branch says if the config request is attached and the mode is remote. I think the reason I'm specifying remote here is because this will also allow you to debug a process that runs in a container, which could be useful in other instances. But now it is not harmful, and because it will basically connect to a server, and the server can be forwarded from within the container, and this is why it is not harmful. But anyway, the gist of it is that with this configuration, with this configuration, this callback will be invoked, and what this will do is it will simply attach to the running server, and basically that's it. That's pretty much it. That's the configuration. So a quick recap: we first start the debugger server, then we attach to the debugger server with a debugger client, and the way we do that in Neovim at least is first we define the adapter. We define how we would like to start the debugger. We could attach to an existing debugger server as it is in this if branch, or if we were to follow the else branch, what this will do, it will start a debugger server right away, and it will connect it and it will connect to it automatically and immediately. So this involves a less manual process, but you also lose some customizability. I hope that's a word. In this case, we are simply using an existing server. So that's the magic. I hope it makes sense. And I think the next videos in this series will be mostly about whatever happens in etcd. But I thought this process of debugging is something that I very much use, so I thought it was worth sharing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.